Hey, it's me, MLB. Here is chapter 22 of Shattered Image, and this one is titled A Chat. It was a short ride in the ambulance for Sero, but when you're spaced out with the amount of things weighing on your mind, like he had on his, it made the ride go by in an instant. Why had you snapped like that? Was this what you had been talking about, when you'd been saying you wanted to kill or hurt? What had pushed you over the edge? Was it him? What were you meaning when you said something about how he should go and be with her? Who is her? Were they going to put you in the psych ward again? How could he help? Hey. A male voice penetrated his thoughts. Hey, dude, we're here. Sero looked up and to his left, into the curious face of one of the paramedics who had his door open and was just looking at him as he sat spacing out in the passenger seat of the ambulance. Time to get out now, the paramedic said once Sero had looked at him. Huh? Oh, sorry, Sero said, shaking his head a little before getting out of the ambulance and walking to the back where you were lying on the stretcher. In the time that he was thinking in the front of the van, you had already been taken out of the back. As he walked beside you while the other paramedics pushed you into the hospital, a lady in white walked towards him holding a clipboard. Hello, she greeted him. I'm here to assist Yin Lin. Is this her? Sero nodded. Yeah, this is her, he said, looking at your still form on the stretcher. We need her to be placed in isolation, she said with a diplomatic smile. You will not be able to stay with her, unfortunately. But she asked me not to leave her, just before she passed out. He said, I don't know what's going on with her, but she needs help, and she trusts me. We will help her, but we need to have her assessed first, and we can't have her talking with anyone until we get all the information about what happened, she said. I hope you understand. Sero shifted uncomfortably. I do. He finally resigned. You are welcome to stay in the waiting area, she said. Do you have someone who you can call to come and get you? I'll be okay, thank you, he said, and then gave you one last look and walked off, shoulders slumped and hands in pockets as he headed back down the hall looking for the waiting room. He had no intention of leaving just yet, and he also had a feeling that the minute you woke up you would be asking for him and would refuse to talk to anyone until you spoke to him first. So with that thought in mind, he sat down in the waiting area and pulled his phone out to pass the time until he was called upon. It was a good 2 hours later that the lady who had spoken to him before suddenly entered the waiting room and looked at him. You are still here, she said with surprise. Yes, he replied, tucking his phone away and standing up. Why are you still here? She asked. I wanted to wait for Yin. I don't know why, but I felt like she would refuse to talk to anyone when she woke up and would be asking for me, he replied, feeling stupid the second the words came out of his mouth. The lady's eyes widened and she nodded. Yes, that is what happened. We were about to make a call to try and find you, she said. I was on my way through to reception. Is Yin okay? Sero asked. Unsure, but physically she appears to be okay, the lady replied. Would you come with me? Yes. He nodded, following when she turned and headed out into the hall again and walked down the corridor. Sero was taken through this door and that door until he was brought to the doors of a locked room, and the lady turned to him. I will be locking the door behind you because this is a secured area. But rest assured, there are many cameras in the room, and if we see or feel that you are in danger, we will get you out in an instant. This room is also fitted with quirk cancelling technology, so you or her will be unable to use your quirks whilst inside this room, the lady said as she reached for the keys on her lanyard. Okay, Sero said as he waited for her to open your door and let him in. As soon as he entered, the door was closed and locked behind him, and he looked back briefly before looking ahead and taking a few steps before peering around the corner to the bed that you were in. You were lying there looking in his direction, and it startled him when his eyes met yours. You had a different look in your eye than you usually did, and he didn't quite know how to take it. Hey, he said as he slowly walked into the room and then stood at the end of your bed. You just watched him, not saying anything, and he blinked uncomfortably and looked away. Nice room, he offered. Is it? You asked, your words coming out cold and chilling. He blinked again and then hesitated to look at you. I don't really know what to say, he said sheepishly. I know going with the usual, "You okay?" is a little dry. You scoffed and looked away. There was an awkward pause for the longest time, and he shifted his weight on his feet for a bit and then cleared his throat. So, he started. "What were you doing there?" You suddenly asked him pointedly. Tonight?" he asked. "Don't try and beat around the bush. Tell me," you said straightforwardly. Sero sighed and stepped forward so he could sit down on the side of the bed, his hands resting in his lap as he looked down at them. "Look," he said into his lap. "I'm really sorry about what happened at the ramen shop," he said sadly. "That was my fault. I pushed you and made you upset." "I'm not asking about then. I'm asking how you found me at the petrol station," you interjected harshly. "I'm getting to that," he replied firmly, looking at you, and you immediately closed your mouth and listened. "You were really upset, and I should have just listened to you vent it all out, but instead I made things worse, and that's why you went out, right?" he asked. You bit down on your teeth and looked away, refusing to answer him. "You needed to let off steam," he said. "You're still not answering my question," you said, looking back at him with tears in the corners of your eyes, anger forcing them into position. "I got a call from Aizawa, who had gotten a call from your mum," Sero said. "She had said that you weren't home, and she was worried about you, so she called Aizawa to see if he could find you, and he rang me to help." "Why you?" you shot. "Because we're friends," he offered. "You said we're friends." "We are," you replied sharply. "And so he and I had just met up, and he got a call that there was a disturbance a few streets over involving a girl with a paralysis quirk, and, well, we went to investigate, and it was you," he said. "You weren't stalking me again?" you asked. "No, I promise," he replied. "You can ask Aizawa. I'm telling the truth." And you believed him. He had never lied to you before, and you believed that he would have told you if he had been following you. You huffed. "Okay." "Well, now, I have a question," he said. "What?" you asked. "I have a few questions, actually, but when you first turned around and saw me, you said something about if you like her so much, go and be with her then, or something like that," he asked, and you remembered being furious about Momo in that moment. "Well, what did you mean by that?" he asked curiously. "Nothing," you lied. "I don't know." He cocked his head at you. "You remembered that you were at the petrol station, and you remembered me there, but you don't remember why you said that?" he asked curiously. "I said I don't! Stop asking!" you snapped with embarrassment. He was about to say something else, but then remembered not to push you and sighed. "Okay, sorry," he said. "My bad. Should I go?" "No," you said quickly. "No, don't go. I mean, whatever, but you can stay if you want." Sero smiled a little, trying not to laugh. You were being very cute in this moment. So was it because of me that you snapped like that?" he asked curiously. "That's my second question." "No," you sighed. "No, this has been boiling under the surface for a while now. I couldn't hold it back anymore. I lost control, I guess. I don't know. Everything kind of goes blurry, but it was the same as when it happened then as well." "When you stabbed the teacher?" he asked. "Yeah, that," you replied. "They're going to put me through tests again, aren't they?" Sero shrugged. I don't know. I just came in here to see you, but I'll be staying here until they let you out. You won't be alone this time," he said. You looked at him. Oh, Yin, if only you could be honest with yourself. Stay tuned for tomorrow, chapter 23 coming then. I'll see you then.